Hey, how's it going? This is Grant Luna with Fidelity National Title. And in this video, I'll show you how to implement an Assembly Bill 1033 campaign using Fidelity Passport's new ability to generate lists of homeowner data, specifically regarding property owners that have an accessory dwelling unit on the property. If you don't know what Assembly Bill 1033 is, there's a link in the description for a video overview which goes into a bit of background about Assembly Bill 1033, some of the requirements, but a general overview is that now allows property owners that have an accessory dwelling unit on the property to sell that accessory dwelling unit as a condo. So in this video, I'll show you how to use Fidelity Passport to effectively get those lists of property owners that have an accessory dwelling unit on the property. I'll also show you a template that you will have access to. There's a link in the description for it as well, for a template that you can ultimately customize, make your own, and start using in your farming efforts. And then lastly, I'll show you how to get this data from Fidelity Passport and make it dynamic, specifically using Fidelity Total Farm and using Fidelity Total Farm's companion door knocking app. So without further ado, let's get into it. So first things first, you will need a Fidelity Passport account to access data within the system. If you don't have an account, there's an easy to follow setup guide in the video description so you can get your own account and follow along and develop that muscle memory. But we'll jump right into it within Fidelity Passport. And what we will use to generate this list of property owners that have an accessory dwelling unit on the property is Fidelity Passport's lists feature. And that'll be found up at the top of the screen here, so you can select lists. And I'll just run through a simple example case of maybe looking in two different cities and looking for those property owners that have that ADU. I want to pass along a template that you can have access to as well by checking the link in the description. And so I'm going to select city right here under geography. I'm going to select two cities. I'll select San Pedro, I'll select add, and then I will select Rancho Palos Verdes and select add. And each time you add a filter to this list, you should see this number here change. It'll dynamically show you the number of properties that meet the characteristics that you are assigning here in this list. So right now, this is saying that in San Pedro and Rancho Palos Verdes, with just those two filters, there's 36,000 properties that overlap. So what I want to add is that accessory dwelling unit filter. So I can select property here, and then I can select land use / property type, and then property type, and then I can select residential, single family residential with ADU down here, select add, and now this number will change. So right now in San Pedro and Rancho Palos Verdes, there are 30 properties that are known to have accessory dwelling units on that property. So now what I can do is get this data from Fidelity Passport and now utilize farming materials and let them know about Assembly Bill 1033. A simple way of getting a list of people and the information about these people is you select next right here. And then all you really have to do to generate a farm report is select get now. This will be generated for you initially, just if you don't choose any settings that I'll get into later in the video. If you select download, it'll generate a PDF for you that has a home report. If you can't figure out where to actually find this later, let's say you don't get navigated to that page, just click on history up here and you'll see all of your past orders right here broken down for you. And when it is completed, right now it's processing. All you'd have to do is select view list. Here's that farm report, and you can just click on that farm report and be taken to it. And ultimately that looks something like this for each of those addresses. It's going to have a lot of helpful property information if you do plan on approaching them and letting them know about Assembly Bill 1033. So that'll be the case for all of the properties. So in this case, this is 30 addresses broken down for me. And so if you are looking for some easy material to actually pass out to people, like I said, check the link in the description. You can have access to something that looks like this. This is an Assembly Bill 1033 information flyer that you can access. If you know how to use Canva, this is actually a shareable link that you can actually edit for yourself and put your headshot and contact information on. So feel free to play around with this and make this your own. Lastly, what we can also do using this data that we're getting from Fidelity Passport is make it dynamic. And what I mean by that is to not just have it be a static PDF with names and addresses or just a static CSV file, but instead something you can really work with and that self-updates over time also. And so what we can ultimately do to make this happen is take this data that we're getting from Fidelity Passport and put it into Fidelity Total Farm. If you don't know what Fidelity Total Farm is, that is another Fidelity National Title product that we have that allows you to create farms for any geographic area, allows you to filter that data as well by out of state, absentee, empty nester, etc. type of homeowners. And it also has a really great companion mobile app that allows you to door knock really easy. Check the link in the description for another video that goes into that app also. It's a must-have if you're practicing real estate. So what we want to do is get this list of, in this case, it was 30 homeowners that have a property with an accessory dwelling unit, and we want to put that into Fidelity Total Farm. Luckily, these two apps make it really easy to do that. So I'm going to generate that list from scratch just to show you how you can go about doing that. So I'm going to go to home just to get back to the home page. So once again, you select lists. We're going to do the same exact search. So we will select city, and just a reminder, you can search by other ways too. So you could search by county, mailing address, a radius around an address, an APN, an area code. You can also draw a map area around a neighborhood too. But we will stick with those two cities. We did San Pedro, so I will find San Pedro here and select add. And then Rancho Palos Verdes, select add. This is 36,000. Then we can select property, property type here, and then residential, single family residential with ADU. So property, land use, property type, residential, and then single family residential with ADU. Then select add. This is 30 properties now. So we can select next to finalize this order. Now there's just two other steps needed to actually get this into Fidelity Total Farm. So the first is to actually specify the format for that export. This is going to make the actual importing process to Fidelity Total Farm 1,000 times easier. So you can select export output tier, and then where it says select a template right here, click farm tool. So farm tool, and now all of these headers should appear for you when you have farm tool as the layout. So now you can go to get now, and now this will be a CSV file. You don't have to change anything here. All you have to do is select farm tool and select download. So this should pop up. It'll be an automatic message letting you know that your order has been submitted for processing. Then it should actually redirect you to that orders page. And so now it will load you in. And then now we have the actual order here. So this is that export output that we just generated. And so I can select view list. Here we have that CSV file. I could have just clicked the name right here. And now all I need to do is download this to my computer. So I'll place this in my downloads. So now this has been downloaded. And so what you do to actually get this into Fidelity Total Farm is select import. So you can click import at the bottom right here, then select browse. And then we just get that file that we downloaded from Fidelity Passport, select upload. And then all you need to do here is in templates, select farm tool layout. And now this will automatically match all of those columns for you that you need within Fidelity Total Farm. So now all you need to do is select proceed or process. And now this will generate for you. And then in a couple of seconds, ideally, it should create a farm that looks something like this. Obviously, this isn't the best name we want, but it's going to give you all of these property specific pieces of information about this farm. These are all property owners that own a property with an accessory dwelling unit on it. Let's say they actually wanted to change the name of this farm moving forward. Just one last thing. You can select view farms to get to the main menu of Fidelity Total Farm. This is the name of the farm we want to change. So we can go to this share button, select rename a farm, and we can name this San Pedro and RPV ADU properties. And now there's your farm. You can now use it with Fidelity Total Farm's door knocking app. This will self-update every 2 weeks. You can use all Fidelity Total Farm's features now moving forward. This is a general overview of how you can use Fidelity Passport's new ability to access data of properties with accessory dwelling units as a simple farming touch, and hopefully this can be an effective way for you to build relationships this year and moving forward.